Homeless man saves billionaire, mocked with "you're just a street rat." Tribal elder Apars in one sentence leaves the billionaire stunt rain lash down on Lusala, the capital of Kalamba, like the wrath of the gods. Thunder rumbled over the rusted tin roofs of the slums, and lightning split the night sky, illuminating the crumbling stone bridge at the city's edge. Underneath it, floodwaters had already risen to knee-height, and in a corner, a figure huddled beneath a makeshift shelter of torn RPs and scavenged plastic sheets. This was Kisa's home. In his EARLY 30s, his face weathered by hardship, his hair a tangled mess, Kisa wore a faded sweater that had long lost its original color. He broke the last half of a moldy bread loaf into one piece for himself, the other for the feverish little boy beside him, Toto, the orphan street kid he'd taken and eat up. Tomorrow I'll dig up more copper wire at the scrapyard, Kisa said, his voice rough but gentle. Then, a deafening crash tore through the storm. From the muddy mountain road came the screech of twisting metal, followed by the dying groan of an engine. A sleek black SUV, the kind only the richest could afford, had lost control on the slippery bend, tumbling into a ravine. Its headlights flickered weakly, like the eyes of a dying beast. Kisa shot to his feet, water splashing around him. He recognized that it belonged to Orlando Mwanga, the wealthiest businessman in the country, a face always on the news. He could have turned away. What did a billionaire's life or death matter to a street rat like him? But he didn't. Toto, stay here. Don't come out. He yanked off the wooden amulet around his neck, a red bull, the sacred protector of his Maasai tribe, given to him by his dying mother, and sprinted into the storm. The mountain path was slick as oil. Lightning cracked overhead. Kisa slipped 3 times, his knees bleeding from RP rocks, but he forced himself up and kept running. Inside the wreck, Orlando was trapped, the airbag pinning his neck as the cab filled with rainwater. Help somebody. His cries were swallowed by thunder. By the time Kisa reached the the door was crushed. He scavenged a rusted chain and a heavy rock, looping one end around the frame and the other over his shoulder. With a grunt, he heaved, muscles straining, the metal groaning in protest. Ag! He read, sweat and rain mixing on his skin. The door creaked open, just enough. He crawled inside, dragging Orlando out with every ounce of strength left in him. The man was heavy, slippery, nearly impossible to grip. Kisa remembered his father's words from years ago, back in their village when they'd pulled a trapped cow from the mud. Strength isn't in the arms, Kisa. It's in the heart. Somehow, he hauled Orlando to safety just as ambulance sirens wailed in the distance. When Orlando came to, the first thing he saw was Kisa's dirt-streaked, exhausted face. He recoiled, disgust twisting his features. Don't worry, sir, help's coming, Kisa panted. Orlando didn't answer. Instead, he turned to his bodyguard, his voice weak but icy. This street rat touched me, keep him away. Don't let him near the hospital. The guards shoves Kisa back like he was a thief. Paramedics draped blankets over Orlando, no one even glanced at Kisa. He stumbled back into the rain, shivering, his soaked amulet swelling in his palm. Reporters met in, cameras flashing. The next day, headlines screamed, "Billionaire rescued in crash, by a homeless man." The internet exploded. LMAO, a street rat saved a lion. Bet this bum's just fishing for a payout. Orlando should sue him for even touching him. Mockery flooded social media. Someone photoshopped Kisa as Ratman Kisa, a Seaton mouse in a tattered cap holding a "Please Notice Me" sign. Meanwhile, Orlando recovered in a private hospital suite, watching the news with a sneer. Him saved me, he was just there by accident. Don't let this trash ruin my image. His assistant bowed. Already told the press you were rescued by professionals. Back under the bridge, Toto's fever burned hotter. Kisa fed him scavenged pills, then collapsed, shaking. He'd been sick before the rescue, and now the fever was eating him alive. Fingers trembling, he clutched the amulet. Memories flickered, his father, a village storyteller, speaking softly by firelight years ago. Kisa, real courage is doing what's right, even when you know you'll be forgotten. Dad, did I do it? He whispered before darkness took him. 3 days later, Orlando held a press conference, announcing a 10 billion shilling future city project, creating 5,000 jobs. The crowd cheered. No one mentioned the homeless man. Kisa survived only because Toto and other street kids took turns pouring water down his throat. When he woke, the first thing he did was check his amulet. The bull was still there. He didn't know it yet, but the storm had set something in motion. Days later, the city announced a beautification project. All bridge squatters had to leave in 3 days. Holding Toto, Kisa stood at the bridge's edge. In the distance, Orlando's helicopter ROA read North Tawa RD Sacred Deer Valley, a stretch of untouched forest marked for bulldozers. Kisa looked down at the carving in his palm. They call me a rat, but even rats know the way home. And the rain began again. Dawn broke over La Sala, sunlight piercing the haze as it hit Orlando Mwanga's cliffside mansion. The glass and steel sky palace loomed over the city, its infinity pool glinting. Servants moved silently, setting out imported coffee and organic fruit on a silver tray. Orlando, wrapped in a custom silk robe, flipped through the financial papers. The front page featured his crash, but the headline had been quietly rewritten: Orlando Mwanga survives crash, professional rescue team responds. Good work, he said flatly to his assistant. That homeless man, never mention him again. Yes, sir. Also, the future city project is approved. The survey team moves into Sacred Deer Valley tomorrow. Orlando's lips curled. Sacred Deer Valley, the ancient forest tribes called where the ancestors breathe. Beneath its soil, lithium deposits worth billions. He didn't believe in ancestors. He believed in bank accounts. Meanwhile, under the bridge, bulldozers had flattened Kisa and Toto's shelter. They stood on the roadside now, clutching a torn backpack, threadbare clothes, and the wooden bull carving. Where do we go? Toto whispered. Kisa looked Tawa RD the distant mountains. Home. Sacred Deer Valley. But isn't that where they're building the big houses? Toto had RD the construction crews bragging. Kisa didn't answer. That forest was where he was born, where his father told stories by firelight, where his mother gathered healing herbs. 10 years ago, the government seized the land for national development. Villagers were forced out. Kisa protested. They broke his ribs. His wife died sick and homeless on the streets. And he became Ratman Kisa. They hitched a ride on a rickety truck heading north. Through the window, slums of corrugated iron, dust-choked construction sites, refute children chasing the truck for coins. On the other side of the highway, gleaming malls, luxury cars, Bilbo ARDS plastered with Orlando's logo. Papa, why do they have cars? And we walked. Toto asked. Kisa stayed silent. He knew the answer: not lazy, not stupid. Just born on the wrong side of the line. 2 days later, Sacred Deer Valley, the village was a skeleton. Crumbling huts, fields gone wild. Only a few elders remained. Old Ka Romo stood at the edge, his white hair whipping in the wind. Kisa, is that you? The elder's voice trembled. Kisa knelt, pressing his forehead to the earth, the deepest Maasai respect. That night, around a fire, Ka Romo spoke of the past decade: forests stripped, rivers poisoned, animal paths erased. The young left for cities, never returning. We're not poor. We've been robbed of our roots. Kisa placed the wooden bull in the firelight. Ka Rumu's eyes welled up. Your mother's amulet, she said. One day, the homeless ones would return. Wake the sleeping spirit. What spirit? Toto asked. The spirit of the land. The ancestors. And the spirit in men's hearts. Meanwhile, in the capital, Orlando hosted a green charity gala. Crystal chandeliers, politicians clinking glasses. He stood polished and smiling. Our development will never harm nature. Sacred Deer Valley will use cutting-edge ecotech, bringing prosperity. Applause. ROA read. No one heard. The environmental reporter muttered. His ecotech was outdated 10 years ago. Back in his mansion, Orlando's doctor injected him with sedatives. 3 weeks of insomnia, nightmare residential of rain, the overturned California are, those muddy hands reaching for him. You need rest, sir. Switzerland, perhaps no time, Orlando snapped. He yanked open the curtains, ring down at the city lights. For a second, he remembered the homeless man's eyes, not begging, not angry. Just quiet pity. He jerked the curtains shut. In Sacred Deer Valley, Kisa crushed herbs between stones, pressing the paste to Toto's fevered forehead. You know healing, an elder gasped. My mother was a tribal herbalist, Kisa said softly. She taught me, for every sickness, nature grows a cure. The elder gripped his hand. City hospitals couldn't fix this child. You did. Kisa smiled bitterly. They call it superstition. The next morning, Orlando's bulldozers rolled into the valley, crushing 1,000-year-old baobab roots. Romuan villagers stood in their path, signs reading, "Return our land." Watching via drone feed, Orlando sneered. Primitives. Standing in the way of progress. He ordered security to clear them. In the scuffle, an elder fell, blood on his temple. The news aired it as, "Radicals attack development site." Kisa heard the reports, his chest tight. He walked to the forest's edge, wind moaning through the trees like grief. His father's voice echoed, "Land isn't property, child. It's family. Cut it, it bleeds. Poison it, it sickens." That night, alone on a cliffside, Kisa held the RMCA arving. "Father, what do I do now?" The wind sighed through leaves, almost like an answer. In the mansion. Orlando jolted awake, sweat-drenched. In his dream, he was trapped in the sinking sea air again, but this time, the Ratman stood on shore, watching him drown. He rang for water, gulping it down. "Tomorrow," he muttered, "I'll see that valley myself." He didn't know it yet, but the threads of fate were pulling taut between mud huts and golden cages. And as the rain began again, Sacred Deer Valley's trees swayed in the storm, like giants stirring from sleep. The mist hadn't even lifted when the bulldozers read to life, their steel teeth tearing into moss-covered rocks. Wild orchid stems snapped under treads, emerald parrots shrieking as they fled the canopy. Orlando Mwanga stood outside his command tent, dustproof jacket crisp, sunglasses hiding his eyes. Engineers, security chiefs, and local officials hovered around him like flies. "Speed it up," he ordered coldly. "Clea are the land by month's end. I won't let a bunch of weeping elders delay progress." A local official bowed. "Don't worry, Mr. Orlando. My persuasion team is handing out 500 shillings to each protester. They'll go home." Orlando smirked. Money, the only language he trusted. If it didn't solve a problem, you just hadn't thrown enough. Deep in the valley, old Romu knelt before the ancestor stone, a massive rock carved with ancient symbols, where the tribe's first chief was said to have made a pact with the mountain spirits. His voice, cracked with age, rose in a low chant. "Protect this land." Kisa stood nearby, holding Toto. The boy's fever had broken, but his eyes were still dull. Kisa's fists clenched as he watched the bulldozers. "They don't understand," Romo rasped, leaning on his stick. "This forest isn't resources. It's alive. Every tree has a name. Every stream remembers." "Then what do we do?" Kisa asked. "Remember." The elder's gaze burned. "Remember their shapes. Their voices. As long as someone does, they're not truly gone." A commotion erupted. A security guard shoved an elder, his forehead split open on the rocks. Villagers surged four-way shouting. The guards raised batons. Kisa sprinted into the fray. "Stop." He spread his ARMS, shielding the old man. "He's una remed." The guard sneered. "Back off, Ratman. You saved one rich guy and now you're a hero." "I don't want money," Kisa said softly. "I just want you to stop." The security captain laughed. "You a homeless beg giving orders." The crowd thickened. Anger pulsed in the air. Orlando, watching through binocule RS, was leading this some vagrant from the city. Calls himself Kisa. Orlando's stomach twisted. Rain. Metal screeching. Mud-caked hands dragging him to safety. "Film him," he snapped. "If he incites violence, arrest him." By afternoon, the clip went viral, violent protest. Homeless agitator attacks development. Crew. Comments flooded in, "Of course the rat causes trouble. Lock him up. Just pay them off, Orlando." But others whispered, did you see the Gua RD hit first, that elder was bleeding. Wait, is that the guy who saved Orlando Kisa, an Airi of the storm? He crushed moonleaf herbs, pressing them to the elder's wound. The bleeding slowed. You know healing, a villager gasped. My mother taught me, Kisa murmured. Medicine isn't about price. It's about knowing what works. That night, deep in the forest, Kisa placed his palm against an ancient baobab. The bark pulsed like a heartbeat. A baboon dropped from the branches, its leg bent wrong, whimpering. Kisa didn't flinch. He murmured to it, splinting the limb with cloth and twigs. You lost your home too, the baboon sta read at him, I's too knowing. Sa ra, the environmental journalist hiding in the bushes, her fingers trembled on the camera. This was gold. A man society threw away, healing a wounded animal under moonlight like something out of an old legend. The next morning, she approached Kisa, press badge flashing. Tell me about this forest. About you. He hesitated. Words are dangerous. So is silence, Sa Ra said. The world needs to hear why development keeps destroying homes. Kisa exhaled. Then listen. Meanwhile, Orlando's sight machines failed. Drills jammed in rock. A truck burst into flames at midnight, no one hurt, but the crew swore they heard trees crying. A feng shui consultant paled. Sir, this land has spirits. We should halt, make offerings. Orlando slammed his desk. Nonsense. Fix it or get out. But his own nights were haunted. The SUV rolling, shadowy figures watching him drown. And at the very back, Kisa's calm, unblinking gaze. He woke gasping. What am I afraid of? He drove to the village himself. The confrontation. Orlando's SUV rolled into the village. People scattered except Ka Romu, standing firm in the road. Your protests are noted, Orlando said, looming over him. I'll raise compensation. 2,000 shillings each. Sign today, cash tomorrow. Ka Romu didn't move. We don't want money. Then what? Live like cavemen, we want to live, the elder said simply. For the trees to live. The rivers. The memories. Your money can't buy that. Orlando scoffed. You don't even have electricity. What's the point? Ka Romu looked him dead in the eye. We understand the wind's language. The rain's rhythm. The animal's calls. You only understand money. But tell me, does money let you sleep at night? Orlando froze. Then Kisa emerged, cradling the injured baboon. He didn't glance at Orlando, just set the creature down gently and walked away. Something about his hunched shoulders struck Orlando. Not weakness. A quiet, unbreakable strength. That's the homeless man, Orlando asked. Yes, Ka Romu said. The one who saved you. Orlando said nothing. The word street rat echoed in his head. As he turned to leave, Ka Romu called after him. You think you're the lion? True lions don't mock the gazelles they hunt. You wear a lion's skin but act like a hyena, gnawing on the weak and calling it progress. Orlando's hands clenched. The words stuck like a thorn. He sped off, slamming the wheel. Madman. All of them. But the elder's voice followed him. He googled Kisa Sacred Deer Valley. A photo loaded. Rainy night, a man hauling him from wreckage. The caption, he saved you. You called him rat. Orlando shut his phone. In the rear view mirror, the forest loomed. For the first time, those trees didn't look like prophet. They looked like judges. Back in the village, Kisa showed Toto how to grind herbs. This one helps elders remember. This one makes children brave. Sa Ra scribbled notes. She knew this story would change everything. The wind rustled through the valley. The trees whispered back, the reckoning has just begun. The mist clung to the untouched forest like a veil. Kisa rose early, splashing his face in the creek. Toto still slept inside, while the injured baboon, now healing, lounged on a stone outside, its leg wrapped in fresh bandages. It'll recover, old Ka Romu said, leaning on his stick. Like you. Kisa smiled faintly. Bodies healed. But he RTS. The SCARS of exile, mockery, being erased, those were etched into bone. Sa Ra left last night, Ka Romo added. Said her article will publish soon. Hope it helps, Kisa murmured. He'd stopped believing in hope years ago. How many reporters had come, taken notes, then vanished? The bulldozers always wondered, but this time, he'd fight back in the oldest way possible. He gathered smooth bark, using charcoal and berry juice to map the animal trails, where antelope detoured around mines, where baboons found new water, how birds altered flight paths as trees fell. He bottled creek water upstream, mine drainage, village drinking spot, labeling each with trembling fingers. What are you doing, Toto Yon? Remembering, Kisa said. If this place becomes a wasteland, at least someone will know what it was. Meanwhile, Orlando's empire trembled. Ese Ras expose, the forgotten Guardian, a homeless man's fight for the forest, ignited the internet. No melodrama. Just facts. Kisa, a former teacher, homeless after resisting land grabs. The unedited truth of Orlando's rescue photos, witnesses Sacred Deer Valley's ecological and cultural worth. Leaked emails showing bribes, environmental cover-up. The title cut deep, he saved you. You called him rat. Now he's dying to protect what you stole. Social media erupted. Hashtag streetrat no more trended. Globally. Artists mocked Orlando, side-by-side posters of Kisa's weathered face and Orlando's gold-plated watch, captioned, "Who's the real man?" Graffiti ape read overnight, a mouse in a teacher's cap, while writing trees, with the words, "Dignity isn't given. It's kept." Orlando raged in his office, who leaked those emails shut it down. But the high-rider he fought, the louder it grew. A child Kisa had pulled from a flood spoke up, he Nearly drowned saving me. Asked for nothing. A slum mother added, my baby's fever broke with his herbs. No cha rge. Public opinion flipped. Did we get him all wrong? Orlando's the ungrateful one? Orlando's insomnia worsened. He fired his doctors, cancelled Switzerland. Instead, he investigated Kisa. Dig up everything. The report came 3 days later. Kisa male, 32. Former teacher at Sacred Deer Valley School. Jailed in 2013 for leading anti-eviction protests. Wife Lena died of untreated pneumonia. Homeless since, but known for saving strangers. Attached, a faded photo of young Kisa in a white shirt, smiling beside schoolchildren. Orlando sta read. A memory surfaced, himself as a boy in the slums, called Trash Kid. He'd sworn he'd never be powerless again. Now he'd become the bully. He slammed the file shut, splashing water on his face. The mirror showed a hollow man in a $10,000 suit. Then an alert. Anonymous email. No text. Just one photo, Kisa at the ancestor stone, holding Toto, the wooden bull amulet in his palm. Behind him, the doomed forest. His eyes calm as bedrock. At the bottom, tiny text, do you remember the rain? Orlando's hands shook. He remembered. The chain biting his shoulder. Water filling his lungs. Those hands pulling him up. Not a rat's hands. A savior's. And he'd repaid it with scorn. God, what have I done? He drove to Sacred Deer Valley alone. The meeting, at the village edge, Kisa was teaching kids to identify plants. Toto scampered over, offering Orlando a leaf. Peace herb. Stops fights. Orlando took it, throat tight. Thank you. Kisa looked up. No anger. No fear. Just quiet. You came. Orlando faltered. Then engines ROA read. 2 bulldozers rumbled toward the village. His men, seizing the moment. Villagers panicked. Kisa stepped into the bulldozer's path. Orlando yanked out his phone, SNA ruling, abort. Now. The machines halted. Breathing hard, Orlando faced Kisa. I'm sorry. I didn't order this. Kisa studied him. How many have you saved? What, you're rich? Powerful. You must have helped many. I suppose. But saving isn't giving money, Kisa said, gazing at the trees. It's not harming in the first place. The words pierced. Orlando had built towers, donated millions, yet destroyed more than he'd ever given. And this man, this rat, had saved with nothing but his hands. I want to start over, Orlando choked out. Kisa walked to the ancestor stone, placing the amulet atop it. My mother's last gift. She said when ERTSA lost, the EARTH reminds us. Orlando sta read at the tiny ca arving. It outweighed all his gold. Rain began again, not a storm. A soft, cleansing drizzle, washing over forest, village, and the two men standing silent beneath it. Nothing was spoken. But everything had changed. Dew clung to the grass as sunlight dappled through the trees. The village Clea ring had been swept clean, a sacred fire burning at its center. Today was Mashora, the tribal court of reconciliation. Not a trial. Not a victory lap. Just a circle of truth. Villagers, workers, journalists, even Orlando's executives, all sat together, cross-legged on the EARTH. No chairs. No podiums. Just the fire between them, flickering like a heartbeat. Kisa hovered at the edge, uneasy. He'd never been part of something this formal. Yet old Ka Romu had named him the witness, the one who'd returned from exile, as prophecy foretold. I'm just a failed teacher, Kisa muttered. Ka Romu gripped his shoulder. No. The ones who remember never fail. Noon. Orlando arrived. No limo. No suit. Just a simple cotton shirt and a wooden box, his family album. Silence fell as he stepped into the circle. Some GLA read. Others looked away. The Lion King now stood as humble as a beg ar. Ka Romu raised his hand. Today, we seek not blame, but balance. His voice, cracked with age, ca right over the crowd. We once danced with the wind, spoke to the trees. Then came the shouting, the bulldozers, the forgetting. Today we listen again. One by one, voices rose. Old Mala, weeping, my sons left for the city. They forgot the way home. I stay not because I'm poor, but because my ancestors' bones are here. A young worker, shaking, I operated the bulldozers. I needed the money. But now my mother's sick from poisoned water. What was I supposed to do? Sa the journalist, I thought this was about trees. It's not. It's about a people's memory being erased. Then, Orlando stood. I thought development meant skyscrapers. Mines. Numbers on a screen. He opened the album, a photo of his father, a janitor, scrubbing floors at midnight. I was called trash boy as a kid. I swore I'd never be powerless again. But when I got power, I became the bully. He turned to Kisa. I called you rat. You saved me. I repaid you with shame. I am sorry. No applause. No boos. Just the wind through leaves. Bea ring witness. Kisa rose. I'm no hero. Just a man who lost his home. He held up the wooden bull. My mother's amulet. She said when ERTSA lost, the EARTH reminds us. I saved Orlando that night not because he's rich, but because I couldn't watch someone die like no one could save my wife. A sob broke in the crowd. We don't want money. We want the right to exist. For our kids to know herb names, ancestor tales, to swim in clean rivers. That's not backway road. That's life. Ka Romu stood. Time for the bones. 3 sacred ox bones, ca are fed with symbols, tossed before the fire. A first throw, cease strife. Second, cease strife. Third, cease strife. Gasps. Threefold peace, the EARTH itself had spoken. Ka Romu turned to Orlando. The spirits consent. But words aren't enough. I'll stop the project, Orlando said instantly. Fund a community preserve, managed by villagers, backed by science. Then, to Kisa, will you teach us how to develop without killing the land? Kisa glanced at Ka Romu. A nod. I'll teach. Not for you. For the children. A young villager exploded. That's it. He ruins our lives, says sorry, and we just forgive. Murmurs of agreement. Anger ran deep. Ka Romu raised a hand. Silence. You think you're the lion? He pointed at the furious youth. No. You're a hyena in lion's skin. True lions never mock the gazelles they hunt. The words landed like a hammer. Rage is fire. It burns your enemy, then yourself. If we answer cruelty with cruelty, we become the very thing we hate. He gestured to Orlando. He was wrong. But he kneels. If we refuse him, we're no better. Then to Kisa, this boy slept in gutters, ignored by the world. Yet he still reached out to save. That is the real lion, not in strength, but in heart. Orlando collapsed to his knees, weeping. The hyena label split him open. All his wealth, his power, just a mask for the SCA red trash boy he'd never outrun. Rain began. Soft. Cleansing. The mash aura lasted till moonrise. Promises were made. TRS shed. At the end, Kisa tossed the wooden bowl into the fire. Waitoto whispered. Its job is done, Kisa said. Amulets rent wood. They're what we see inside. In the firelight, Orlando draped his coat over a shivering elder. Kisa taught a child the memory herb. Ka Romu smiled. The real verdict wasn't punishment. It was awakening. And today the soul woke up. Sacred Deer Valley smelled like wet earth and new leaves. The Mashora was over, but its echoes lingered. Villagers worked side by side, healing the SCA red land with compost and ash. Kids clustered around Kisa, learning plant names. Orlando's engineers repurposed mining rigs into rainwater catchers. But not everyone had forgiven. On a hillside, young men huddled, voices low. We just let him go. Abagla read at the bulldozers. Asari erases 10 years of pain. My sister died drinking poisoned water, another hissed. He didn't even mention her. They vowed to confront Orlando. Some whispered, make him homeless too. Kisa sensed the tension, but Ka Romu stopped him. Let them go, the elder said. Rage needs a voice. After comes the real choice. Noon. Orlando's tent. He was reviewing blueprints for a forest school when Aba ridged in, fists clenched. Remember me? Aba's voice shook. 10 years ago, your company dumped waste upstream. My sister Lily, 5 years old, drank the water. Fever burned her for days. No doctor came. She died. Where were you? Toasting your stock prices. Orlando paled. I didn't know. You never do, another spat. Did you know how Kisa's wife died? Why old Mala the son won't come home? How many lives your progress crushed? The air turned thick? Orlando waved off his nervous team. You're right, he said quietly. I sat in offices, signing checks, thinking money fixed everything. But it can't buy back a life or heal a broken heart. He stepped closer to Aba. Your sister's named Lily. Lily. Orlando closed his eyes, etching it into his bones. I can't undo the past. But I swear no project moves without village consent. No land touched until we weigh the human cost. The youths exchanged glances. One scoffed, pretty words. We want repa rations. Your company burned to the ground. Then, Kisa entered. I understand your anger, he said, not looking at Orlando. When my wife Lena was dying, I raged at hospitals, at the government. It didn't save her. The hate just hollowed me out for 10 years. He met Aba's eyes. Hate won't bring the dead back. But forgiveness lets the living move four-way road. Does he deserve it? Aba growled. I don't know, Kisa admitted. But Ka Romu says, real lions never mock the gazelles they hunt. If we answer cruelty with cruelty, how are we any better? Silence. Then Orlando dropped to one knee. Gasps. I don't ask forgiveness, he said, voice raw. But I'll accept any punishment. Jail. Labor. Public shame. Anything to make amends. The tent held its breath. Ka Romu arrived. He stepped to the center, though the sacred fire had long fled. His voice, soft but seismic. You thought you were the lion? No. You're a hyena in lion's skin, for true lions never mock the grazing gazelle. The words struck like lightning. Orlando shuddered, memories flashing: his mother scrubbing floors, called dirty for touching a rich man's doorknob. Investors laughing, slum rat thinks he can run a company. Waking from the crash, SNA ruling street rat at Kisa. He'd become the monsters he'd fled. I'd been running, he choked out. From the slums, from my past, from the trash boy I was. But the further I ran, the more I became them. I wore a lion's mane, but inside I was a scavenging hyena. He collapsed, sobbing into the dirt. Not performative. Not strategic. A soul-stripped Ba-re. The youths froze. They'd wanted to break his pride, not witness this raw wreckage. Aba unclenched his fists. We don't want to be hyenas either. Ka Rumu helped Orlando up. Cry. Trs wash away arrogance. But remember, real change lies not in weeping, but in doing. Orlando wiped his face, bowing deeply. I'll spend my life making this right. He turned to Kisa. Will you teach me not how to be a sea? How to be a man? Kisa studied him. I can teach you trees. Rivers. Rts. Toto burst in, cradling a sprout. Look. Memory herb alive in the waste pile. The tiny plant trembled in his palms, green as hope. It survived, Kisa whispered. Orlando took it gently, digging a hole by the ancestor stone. As he planted it, he vowed, if this lives, so does my conscience. If it dies, I'll spend eternity atoning. Ka Romo smiled. That phrase, hyena in lion's skin, hadn't been a curse. It was an awakening. Nightfall. Orlando stayed by the fire, listening to Kisa sing tribal hymns. He didn't know the words, but the sorrow and hope needed no translation. An elder handed him bitter herb tea. For sleepless nights. He drank it all. Harsh at first, then a sweetness underneath. He finally understood a real healing wasn't found in Swiss clinics. It was here, in bitter tea, in shaw-red firelight, in being told, you've come home. Rain began again. No one fled. They stood under it, faces upturned to the stars. Somewhere in the trees, the healed baboon screeched a cry that sounded like, the Hrt is awake. Orlando Mwanga didn't return to his cliffside mansion. He stayed in a mud hut, sleeping on straw mats. We wring hand-me-down cotton from villagers. At first, people kept their distance until he sta root hauling water at dawn, patching roofs, scrubbing campfires clean. No more sir, he told Kisa. Wiping sweat. Now they call me Uncle Water. Ca Ryer. Kisa nodded. Names don't matter. Actions do. The press conference shocked the nation. SHA holders screamed as Orlando torched the sacred Deer Valley contracts. Flames swallowed the papers, a funeral for greed. Some land shouldn't be owned, he said, calm amid the chaos. It belongs to the wind. The trees. The ancestors. The children not yet born. Then came the Roots Foundation, community-protected forest, managed by villagers' forest school, blending tribal wisdom with modern lessons. Mobile clinics, mixing herbal remedies with vaccines. At the launch, Kisa spoke just 9 words, true wealth is remembering who you are. The crowd ROA read. Even city kids who'd mocked him as Ratman now held signs, teach us, Kisa. Orlando's masterstroke, he salvaged the wrecked SUV that NEARLY killed him. Craftsmen reshaped it into a mobile hospital. Painted with Kisa's BARKART, antelope drinking, baobabs towering, the wooden bull amulet glowing at the center. Finally did something right, Orlando murmured, patting the hood. Kisa grinned. Cars don't heal. Drivers do. On its maiden trip, Toto riding shotgun like a tiny knight, Orlando chose dirt roads over private jets. He watched tribal healers use moonleaf on burns, saw kids giggle through shots. You've changed, journalist Sarah noted. Yes, Orlando said, watching hills roll by. I finally see, development isn't taking. It's giving back. What I stole, I'll go road. What I broke, I'll mend. Kisa, he turned down a fancy title. Not a leader. Just a teacher. At Forest School's first class, he unfurled a BARK paper map of sacred Deer Valley. This is home. Remember it, and you'll never be lost. Meanwhile, Orlando Leah rened to be ordinary. Memorizing plant names, stumbling through proverbs, even soaking his feet in bitter herb baths. Tastes awful. Works wonders. He laughed. Night. Firelight. Kisa. Orlando hesitated. Am I a lion now? Kisa poked the embers. Lions don't ask if they're lions. Their shadows stretched across the trees, no longer enemies, but two trunks saw ring roots. Rain began again. This time, they stood in it together. Sacred Deer Valley wasn't a war zone in the news anymore. Now they called it Valley of Life. Bulldozer growls had faded, replaced by birdsong, creek whispers, and kids reciting lessons. The forest school stood by the ancestor stone, thatch roof, mud walls, open windows letting the wind teach too. Math problems saw red chalkboard space with animal migration maps. Mornings, numbers and grammar. Afternoons, herb hunting, star reading, ancient chants. This isn't just school, Kisa told the education minister. It's a vessel for memory. We teach counting and listening to the EARTH. Orlando visited monthly. No longer boss, just teacher O, explaining economics while struggling with BARK paintings. Kids giggled, Uncle O. Your baboon's missing a tail. He'd laugh and add it. The Roots Foundation now backed 7 tribal regions. A Maasai woman sold eco-bags in PA-RIS. A young healer turned herbs into skincare called Breath of the Land. But the mobile clinic stole he RTS. 3000 plus villagers treated. Modern pills sat beside clay herb RS doctors and tribal healers saw red stethoscopes. An elder clutched Kisa's hand, 70 RS. First time my pain felt, he rode. Even Orlando's daughter Lena, named for Kisa's late wife, came. The London ART student formed a tribal electronic band, mixing ancestral chants with synth beats. Their concert had the capital screaming lyrics in languages they didn't know. We're not reviving the past, Lena said. We're letting ancestors sing through us. Cities shifted too. Lusala stopped bulldozing homeless camps, opening shelters with job training. A journalist who'd mocked Kisa wrote, we were wrong. Dignity isn't charity, it's saying, your story matters. The rainstorm rescue chain became an ART piece downtown, the pulled gold and hemp ropes twisted together, inscribed with Kisa's words, no one should watch another drown. And Orlando's SUVPA arcade forever at the village edge, rusting gracefully. Now a tiny library shelves stacked with kids' ecology drawings, tribal tales, and a battered basic math textbook. One rainy dusk, Kisa found Orlando polishing its hood. Still thinking of that night, Orlando nodded. What if I died or just said thank you? No what ifs, Kisa said, watching the valley. Just this. Rain stopped. Sun SPEA read the clouds. Antelope stepped shyly to the creek. Baboons hooped on cliffs. They came back, Orlando whispered. Because this is home again, Kisa smiled. They stood silent. Wind ca right echoes, kids chanting times tables. Drums pulsing. Raindrops kissing new leaves. The EARTH, breathing. Same bridge. Same valley. Same downpour. Orlando Mwenga and Kisa stood shoulder to shoulder on the hillside, watching floodwaters rush over land once SCA read by bulldozers. Now green shoots curled through rusted tracks. Wildflowers split concrete seams. Tell me, Orlando's voice rely louder than the rain. Am I a lion now? Kisa kept his eyes on the horizon, smiling. Lions don't ask if they're lions. Orlando exhaled. 3 hours of schools, wells, writing trees, yet that nagging doubt, was this redemption, or real change? Now he understood, true transformation isn't about titles. It's about stopping the question. Old Ka Romo approached, leaning on a freshly ca-reved cane. 92 winters bent his spine, but his eyes still burned bright. In his hands, 2 woven bracelets, one black, one white twisted from rainforest vines. Here. He clasped the black around Kisa's wrist, the white around Orlando's. One's mud. One's gold. Same vine. They sta read at the bands. A silent quake in their chests. Once, they'd been mud and gold. Rat and king. World's apart. Now the vines coiled their wrists like invisible thread, stitching their fates together. No eternal street rats, Ka Romu murmured, gazing at the rain-slick forest. No immortal lion kings. Just people. Always sea urching for dignity. The clouds broke. Children spilled from forest school, Toto leading the pack, cradling a newborn baboon. Its mother, the very one Kisa had splitted years ago. Uncle Kisa. It opened its eyes. Kisa knelt, stroking the tiny head. Orlando hovered, then, hesitant, reached out. The baby sniffed his palm and nuzzled it. It's not afraid of you, Kisa grinned. Maybe Orlando's throat tightened. It smells clean hands. Years later, Sacred Deer Valley became Africa's conservation crown jewel. Kisa spoke at the UN in rough-spun cloth, a new carving at his chest, man and tree embracing. Orlando launched the African Land Honor Pact, got CS to sign. Sold his mansion, biked to work in a modest flat. Folks called him Uncle O now. That hyena in lion's skin jab engraved on an eco-monument. The bridge dweller's tale in schoolbooks, the night he chose to reach out. Final scene, a homeless kid under the bridge, reading A Tattered Life of Kisa by lamplight. A photo fluttered loose, rain-lashed night. Mud. A ragged man hauling a businessman from a wrecked SUV. On the back, scribbled, he saved you. You called him rat. But really, he was saving your humanity. *_NEARBY, the repurposed medical truck glowed under moonlight, roots fading on its side. Rain fell again. Gentle. Persistent. Like the EARTH whispering. A voice rode the wind, ancient, yet alive. On this land no forever rats. No eternal kings. Just people. Always sea urching. Drops pattered. Everything grew.